So I'm here with Amy Simmons, and she and her husband Matt have been with the church since it started, and they have served in the past as pastors. And currently, Amy is our lead intercessor, and we'll get into that in a second about what that means. But before we get started, I just wanted to ask you, Amy. We've been talking a lot about what social distancing has been like for people and their experience, and everybody has a different one. And I was just wondering, what has that been like for you and your family this time of social distancing?
Yeah, for me, it's been personally not super difficult because I am usually home a lot. I can work from home when I work and things like that. We do have our son Judah is home, so he's doing homeschooling and things like that. So that part is different. But for me, the hardest part has been that Matt is still working every day with even a little extra stress from all of this at the fire department, but that's starting to ease up some. And so just covering him in that has been important. And our family as a whole, we really miss just, we love to go out to dinner on the weekends. That's our thing. And so we miss that kind of stuff. But other than that, we're really just trying to make this time count and have quality family time when we are all home in the evenings together. So that's what it's been like.
Yeah. So I do want to get into intercession and talking about that.
Yeah.
And so for those who are not initiated, what is intercession? What do we mean when we say, you're an intercessor, you're the lead intercessor? What does that mean? What's intercession?
Yeah. Well, intercession, just in a nutshell, of course, is just praying on behalf of others. And I like how Nicole has said this year that it means praying for those who maybe aren't able to, or they don't know how to pray, or they just are in a situation where they can't pray. And so to me, that's the nutshell of intercession. But I did want to read, just for the sake of those who don't know, this is our mission statement. And so I just thought it would be good for the church to know. And it says that we are committed to pray, intercede, stand in the gap, and war on behalf of upper room, the saved and unsaved, the community and nations, and to declare heaven on earth over every situation, and to discern the spiritual atmosphere in order to assist the church leadership with strategies to bring heaven to earth. So I think that's a really good all-encompassing, that's what we're trying to accomplish. So
that's pretty powerful, yeah.
Since
talking
you
about war.
Yeah. So.
Well, why do you feel like, particularly at a time like this, why do you feel like why is prayer important? Why do we need to make sure that we're continuing to pray, and what's the heaviness or weight of prayer at the time like this?
Yeah. Obviously, to me, and I think to most people, prayer is just our lifeline right now. It is the one thing that we can do. Jesus is our anchor. And so when we go to him, he's that one that holds us. He's the one that's always there. And so it's our lifeline. It's our way. And it's not just talking to him, but it's listening. I found myself during this time of listening to lots of worship music and even having to just shut that off. There was a day where it's like, I can't hear him because all I hear are these people singing. And I just needed to hear him. I needed the comfort of his voice. And so I just think it's our go-to, especially in times that are hard.
So tell me a little bit more about listening to God. How do you listen? What does he sound like? Do you hear a voice, or what is that like for you?
For me, it's not audible. It is literally just a feeling like in my heart, like, in the depths of me. And I remember kind of talking to some of our kids as I've taught Sunday school over the years and things, and saying, like, learn to listen to his voice. And one of the things, because I did it myself, that I've said is, like, ask him a yes or no question. Like, just ask him, do you love me? And just listen, and that first thing should be yes, and so just even asking him those simple little questions to learn what his voice sounds like. And as you know, we say in Sozo all the time, the first thing that comes to your mind is usually him. And so, because he lives inside of us, a spirit. So For me, that's what hearing his voice is like. But, you hear it in a song. For me, I love to worship in his word, of course. And so that's for me what it's like to listen.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I will share that our intercessors had texting going all day long, as we were headed into Passover, and someone recorded themselves suited, blowing her shofar. And as I walked out my door, as I was listening to this, a cardinal flew by. And I just it was this moment where it's like, I felt like that was God speaking. He's like, there's this red bird, this, the sign of the blood of Jesus as the shofar is being blown and we're all in prayer. And so just things like that. I mean, he's all around if we're looking and listening.
So it sounds like there are things God is showing us all the time, but we're not always aware of it. And if we're not thinking about it, we're not looking for it, we may miss it. And so you having eyes open and expecting God to talk to you actually makes a big difference in you actually hearing him talk to you.
Yes. My husband and I actually said this week that there's never been a time for us, and we've been married 25 years this year, but there's never been a time for either one of us that we have ever looked for God in things as much as we're looking for him now. I mean, literally in everything, everywhere, looking for him. So that's why, to me, all of this stuff has been a blessing.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway.
So along those lines, in the midst of all of this, a lot of people have been struggling with fear. If you turn on the news, it's always talking about how many deaths were there and how many more hospitalizations. And, how do you, when you pray, how do you keep things from getting into just, I'm worrying to God, and keep things positive, keep things on a hopeful note? What are your strategies for that?
Well, for me, my biggest strategy was turning off the news. I was one of those people in the beginning. Every day at 2:00, I was listening to the governor. At 5:00, I was listening to the president. Those first days and week or two was nonstop. And for me, that's what was giving me such fear. And I personally had to just make a decision to turn that off. I look at the headlines each day just so I don't miss anything, majorly important. Plus, I want to see if there's good headlines. But I've had to turn that off. But for me, it's when I'm in my flesh and in my mind and doing things, just fleshly things, daily things, where my fear does go up or my anxiety goes up, or I hear one story of a death and I immediately begin to think something bad. The other day, my stomach was kind of upset and I thought, oh my gosh, I should go online and see if this is one of the symptoms of coronavirus. I literally went through this and then I said, no, you don't want to see the list that people have put out there. Stay away. So for me, prayer is just the opposite of the fear and all of that. It's the moment I go into prayer, I am in his word, I am speaking his truth, I am hearing from him, I am declaring things, I am asking him for things, I'm listening for things, and that's when my faith rises up, that's when my hope rises, that's when all that fear goes away. I mean, for me, prayer is the answer to the fear. Like the moment you go into it, if you're trusting the God who is listening to you and answering to you, that stuff just melts away. So again, that's why I say prayer is the lifeline right now. I mean, it's for all things good. So
that's great. So for those who don't know, we do have a group of intercessors at our church, which you head up. I mentioned that before.
Yes.
And they meet regularly. And I think with the social distancing, they may not have been meeting in person, but they're still very much in contact. And yes. I was just curious, is there anything that you could share with people who are watching this, whether they're in the congregation or even outside the congregation, anything that the intercessors are sensing in their prayer time, anything that's coming up that you feel would be appropriate and helpful for us who are watching this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say our intercessors, we've probably been in more contact through this than we would in a normal time. I mean, I had to send out a friendly reminder, don't send stuff in the middle of the night because some of us are trying to sleep because there's just so many that are just so deep into prayer right now. I just want to give a shout out to all of our intercessors. It is the most amazing group of women. They are also gifted and talented in different ways. And watching us all come together with our own little sauce, it's just been amazing. And they are so powerful. Upper Room is really blessed to have this group of women. And I myself have sat under some of these women for several years and learned and gleaned from them. And it has been the most amazing thing. So I just want to say that first. But I would say overall, as we're all kind of we're all listening for what prophetic voices are saying throughout the nation and the nations. And there's definitely an agreement that we are in a divine reset. At first, it was kind of like a divine pause we were hearing. And now it's divine reset. Like everything is going to be changed. We don't believe that anything's ever going to go back to the way it was before. And that this is a time where, we've seen the division between believers and non-believers really amp up for the last several years. But just really believing that it's going to be a greater divide. And we want to make sure we're on the right side of that. And, but also our intercessors are full of hope. I mean, everything we say, it is this expectation of, like, we can't wait to see. It's like Christmas morning. What's he going to do? What's the Lord going to do? How's he going to deliver us out of this? And looking to see how he's going to do that. We are full of excitement and hope. And I wanted to read something very briefly that one of our intercessors got a word last night. And it's long, but there was a paragraph of it that stuck out to me I wanted to read. And it says, "Be released into your fullness, my bride. No holding back. I've perfectly equipped you for this. Roar, 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 and see the landscape change as you take your promised land and bring my presence like never before." And so I just felt like, the world might have fear, but our intercessors are full of hope, anticipation, expectation of the next great awakening that we're hearing everyone around the globe say, that this is what this is ushering in. So this is such an important time as you're maturing in your belief as Christians, which is what we should be doing through this time, to discern the times, to see what he is doing on this earth, to hear what he is saying. And so we are full of hope. If you need an encouraging word, reach out to one of the intercessors and you'll get an encouraging word. So
that is so great. I love the hope and the divine reset. Yeah. And to hear just reset without the divine part, without the hope part, it sounds kind of scary. But when you add that hope into it, it's pretty exciting. I mean, that's pretty exciting to see what God might be doing. Yeah. So there may be some people who watch this who they don't really have any grid for how to pray and what that would be like. And, even some of the things that you're saying, you're reading, they may be thinking, gosh, I could never go that deep into prayer as what she's talking about. Do you have any suggestions or resources for people who are feeling like, I'd like to go deeper into prayer, but I just don't know where to start, or I don't know how to do that? Do you have any suggestions for that?
Yeah, and I would say the first thing is just from a personal experience is until you start doing it, you're never going to get there. So if you don't actually start praying, you're never going to have powerful filled prayers. So you have to start. And like I said, for me, I've sat under these amazing women for the last handful of years. And so find someone, that maybe prays more than you or better than you that you think. And, see if you can tuck under their wing for a while and really just glean from them or ask for prayer from them. And, but I do want to say, it's just so in my heart right now that this is such a time for people to know their word. And so, he is the God of the word, and there is truth and hope and faith in his word. And so if you are whatever, you need to learn your word. And so this is a time to get in the Bible and read your word. You can go online and you can find all information. You can type up, "I'm feeling despair today. Give me verses." And the internet will flood you with verses of despair or hope or whatever your thing is. So there's that. That's so easy and accessible. But I also want to share a website that many of us intercessors follow. And it's called the Elijah List. It's ElijahList.com. And I think they also have a Facebook page. And if you want to just go on there every day and start reading some of the things that the prophetic voices around the globe they write it and they send it in to Elijah List, it is amazing. I mean, it is such good stuff, and it is powerful, and it will encourage you. And so even start reading what other people are seeing and hearing. So
that's great. Wonderful advice. Well, Amy, we're running out of time here, so I was wondering if you would be willing to exercise your prayer skills and just lead us out in prayer, and just whatever you're feeling, bless the people that might be watching this.
Okay. All right. So, Lord, I just ask that you would bless those listening to this, that right now, Lord, there would be such a tug on their heart to draw near to you and to go deep with you, Lord, to get deep into your word, to accelerate their prayers, Lord, to press into you, Lord. And I just ask that you would make it simple, that it wouldn't be something that feels hard for anyone, Lord. Lord, I ask that you would just bless our church family, our upper room family with hope and with faith right now, with provision, God, for every need that they have, that it would be filled, that those who need healing would be healed, Lord. And Lord, I just ask that as we go out from this, Lord, that we would be full of hope. Been hearing people say we were hope dealers. And so, Lord, let us be dealers of hope, and let that just be contagious, and let us spread that around and look for those who need more of it. So just bless us in just your mighty name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, thank you, Amy. And it just occurs to me as you were praying, there may be people who are watching this that are just really feeling the unction to step out and really spend some time in prayer with the Lord. And so if that's you, and if you're doing that and you have an experience or just a testimony, I'd love for you to share that in a comments or message, or even just tell me or Amy or any one of our leaders, because your testimonies encourage other people to continue to go in and dig deeper. So thank you so much, Amy, and thanks to everyone who's watching. Have a great day.
Thanks.